This is The Guide Gals, a modern, wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 12,000 hours on Pinterest, and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, a social media manager who is obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with standout brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to I do.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Guide Gals podcast. Today we're going to be talking all about wedding planning resources that we love and making sure that you know all about them so you can use them in your process.
Yes, we're going to keep it really simple in this episode, and these might seem like super basic things, but we really feel like they're worth talking about. Once again, they might seem really basic, but if you make sure that you think about these things before you get started with your wedding planning journey, or at least at the very beginning stages of it, it's going to make things so much easier, the whole process.
Yeah. And there are even a little bit of like, yes, this is basic, but here are small tips and tricks that we're going to give to you. So stay tuned for the rest of the episode. It's full of really great tips and tricks. But before we get into that, obviously, we're going to talk about our beverage of the day. So Chelsea, what are you drinking?
I am drinking just some hot coffee from home. I have vanilla creamer in there. Crazy stuff.
I love the cup though.
Oh yeah, I got it. It's like a handmade thing from some girl that I found on Instagram, and I would say her name, but it was like years ago, like over 5 years ago. So like I couldn't tell you. I don't know. But if I knew who it was and if she was still in business, and maybe she is, I don't know, it's really cute. But I found it from like a homemade Instagram. I ordered it. It was like an impulse buy, but I really like it. What are you drinking, Caroline?
Yeah, I also have a coffee from home. I was going to say like we are in the same boat. Mine is my like coffee concentrates that I use. And I'm still like using up my pumpkin one. So that is in here and I'm loving that for me. I love any like seasonal drink, but I need to like use up the rest of the pumpkin so that I have space for all of the holiday beverages around Christmas time. So yes, the pumpkin, but I'm patiently awaiting like peppermint and things like that.
Yeah.
So pretty good.
Alrighty, so the first thing that I am going to talk about is organizational tools. So there are so many organizational tools that you can use, and honestly, we've said this before if you've listened to our other episodes, especially like the really intricate planning episodes, really whatever organizational tool that you feel good with and that like works for you, is easy for you to use, like makes sense intuitively, all of that stuff is one that you should stick with. So like I said just a second ago, like there are so many tools out there. Like there is just like the good old fashioned like binder where you can print out stuff. There are lots of free, really good like wedding printables on herecometheguide.com. We love those. They're awesome. So you can do it that way, like pen and paper. Maybe you have a special notebook where you keep all of your stuff, or like a folder / that binder where you put in any contracts, stuff like that. That works great for people. Other people might want to go like the electronic route, that's where the list gets really, really long of different organizational tools that you can use. So there are lots of free ones. There are paid ones. I'm going to like list off a few tools that we use like on the regular, not necessarily for wedding planning, but just for like life planning, all the different things. So the first one, which is like a super free one, all that you really need is like a Google account, is just like Google Docs. Like I think that like people forget about that as an option, but like it's so simple, it's so easily shareable, and it's like totally free. So that's like a great place where you can just like list out all of the things that you need. Very easy to use. If you have like a computer or even like an iPad, like you're good to go. Just make an account and you're in. And I'm sure you already have a Gmail account, but
Right.
if you don't, it's really easy. And then a few others. So Trello is something that I have loved for years. We actually use Trello to organize all of our stuff for this podcast. So I use it for all sorts of things. Trello is really great if you're like a super visual person, just because of the way that like the boards are structured. So that's something to look into. There's a free version of that. I think there's actually probably a free version of all of the things that I'm going to mention. As far as organizational tools go, there's always a paid version as well. So keep that in mind. But we don't think that you necessarily have to do that. Also, Notion. I have just started dipping my toes into the Notion ocean and I really like it. Once again, it's super visual and there are
Mm-hmm.
tons of like templates out there, paid ones, free ones. And it's like, it feels very customizable. I will say that Notion felt a little bit more, it's not hard to use, like it really isn't, but it felt like more of a, okay, like I really need to sit down. I need to like get myself used to Notion and like figure out how to actually use it because it feels a little bit more complicated. But if you're used to Notion already, that would be great. That's like a great place to just like add a separate board or whatever they call it in Notion specific to your wedding planning things. And then one
Yeah.
other tool that I'll mention that I've used a lot in the past is Asana. I believe that I have always used the free version of Asana and it's great, but that one, I'm sure there's other ways to structure it, but with that one, I've always used kind of like just a big running list. And you can create like several lists and check things off. And when you check stuff off in there, sometimes you get like a rainbow unicorn that jumps across your screen because it's excited for you that you completed a task. So that's a
Yeah.
huge plus. Like all in all, as far as organizational tools go, like the real key here is that you just need to pick something that you like and you need to stick with it. That's it. Like whatever option
Mm.
that you choose is totally fine. Like there's so many great
Yeah.
ones out there. Even just like the classic binder, notebook, whatever. As
Yeah.
long as you stick to it and stay consistent with it, you will be all good. But
For sure.
yeah.
And we understand, like, if you are a pen and paper person, we totally understand going that route. But as a pro tip, we will say some of these things like Notion or Trello or just Google Sheets and stuff, they can be nice because they are shareable. You know, if there are other people working with you on these things, if especially if you are doing something like a budget with somebody or like if you're just sharing information with your partner, like yes, like you if you have the binder, you can physically show them, but let's say you're also trying to work like you have a list of all of the addresses that need to be used for like the vendors. Like the vendors need to go to this, some of the vendors need to go to this address and some need to go to this one if you're having like separate, whatever it is. If there is something that needs to be shareable, it is nice to already have it in that like digital location or just using a application that like is easily shareable within like a team. And then you can give different people different permissions depending on it. Like there are lots of ways to go about that. So just as a pro tip, if you are going to use some of those organizational tools that are online, just know it's pretty easy to share that information. That can also be hard though sometimes because you have to figure out how much information you want to share. So just take that with a grain of salt. Whatever you want to do with that information, do with that as you will. Okay, so the next thing is one of those things at the top of the episode. We're like, yeah, this sounds basic. This one kind of does sound basic. Get on Pinterest. LOL. Duh. Also, like Instagram, TikTok, just social media in general. We definitely hear of Pinterest being kind of the biggest thing for wedding inspiration. I know probably a lot of you listeners like have a Pinterest board that you made like 10 years ago, thinking like this is what my wedding's gonna look like one day. And now you look back on it and you're like, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I swear that's a rite of passage. But you've been using Pinterest to plan your wedding for years. Like, obviously it's going to be a great place to look for inspiration and different resources. So we definitely think that you should be using this. And if you're not, hello, what are you doing? And we're also jealous that you get to use it for the first time if you haven't used it before.
Yeah.
So really in this, if you've listened to some of our other episodes, of course, we talk about this a lot, especially in the how to brand your wedding episode. We talk a little bit more about like specific details on how you can use a Pinterest mood board or vision board to like really launch your overall like branding or vibe. So go check out that episode if you want. Like that one gives a lot of tangible tips and tricks. But to like summarize it a little bit is there's tons of inspiration there and you can pin that all to your wedding inspiration board. But also you don't want to pin too much because it can be overwhelming. You can pin a ton of things and then really have that help you narrow down your vision. And then you can narrow that down into like a more succinct board where you have like your key pieces of inspiration. You can do a like grand like wedding board and within that have different sections for like florals, for attire, for stationery, whatever you want that to look like. So it can be just a great place to like get inspiration, but then also to keep you focused. So I think just that part of it is really key. That's our little pro tip with this one is that yes, you can gain so much inspiration, but try not to let it become overwhelming. And also try not to like change your vision throughout the process. Obviously, there's going to be new inspiration coming up at you all the time. But don't let it be something that like pulls you away from like the vision that you've set for yourself. So make sure it's also like if you're having a hard time making a decision, you could come back to that Pinterest board and like really let that guide you to what decision you need to make. Like always have that be holding you to that branding, if that's what you want to call it, or just that overall vision. But then similarly for Instagram and TikTok, I love saving videos and adding them to collections or to like different save lists where I can like put all of this information that lives under, like for me, I have a recipe category, or I'm also a dance teacher. So I have ones that I save for a dance class that I'm like, ooh, I should do this. Save those in different areas so that it's like compartmentalized so that your whole algorithm doesn't just become wedding stuff. Naturally, it probably will. But again, we want you to avoid the overwhelm and really just let these social media tools be tools. Like they should be able to help you and not overwhelm you. So I would say just that as a cautionary tale, but really, there are so many great ideas on Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok. In fact, we will be talking about a lot of the trends that we've been seeing on social media in an upcoming episode, so stay tuned for that. But it's a great place to go for inspiration and yeah, just fine tuning your details.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might seem like Caroline said, like, this might seem a little basic, but seriously, like, I think like people even forget once they get like really deep in the wedding planning stuff, like going back to those basics and like, yeah, getting on Pinterest and like that is where it's fun as well. So do that. And then if you're unlike us and you don't find yourself like super immersed in Pinterest on a daily basis, I would totally recommend listening to our episode on how to brand your wedding because it does go into depth, like Caroline said, on different ways of searching things on Pinterest that we would recommend. And like she said, like kind of going in there once you have a bunch of pins and then maybe narrowing some things down and like figuring out exactly what you like. So if Pinterest feels like something that you go on every once in a while to figure out like what you should wear that day based on what kind of shoes you have, maybe listen to that and like figure out like, you know, we just have some tips in there on how you can use it in like a little bit of an easier way for yourself to like really get the most out of it. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to talk about are wedding websites. So I think that in today's day and age, everyone planning a wedding should absolutely have a wedding website. So yeah, I think you absolutely should have one. So if you've gone to a wedding in the past, I don't know, 5-10 years, I don't know, you've probably been on someone's wedding website. So the great news is that there are lots of completely free resources for that. So all you have to do is do a quick little Google wedding websites, how to create one, and you're going to get a bunch of options pop up. So yeah, they're completely free. They're great. And really, we recommend that you should have one. We feel so strongly about this because it simplifies so many things for your guests. First of all, like I said, if you've been to a wedding in the past, I don't know how many years, you've definitely been on a wedding website. You've probably been on a bunch of them. And people, like guests, are used to that. They're used to that process of being able to go on there. It's a hub for everything that you need. Your registry can live on there. All of the addresses that they need can live on there. Due dates for RSVPs. You can even let them RSVP through the website in a lot of cases. So it really, really simplifies things. We definitely recommend it. And it will save you time and headaches because all of the stuff will be in one place. You'll be able to, you know, if you do still get questions, which you will, from people saying like, what's this? What's that? What's that? You can even just say like, hey, like here's this link. You should go here. It has everything answered, everything and more.
Yes.
Like, there you go. Instead of answering a bunch of detailed questions, which if you didn't have a website, you would absolutely have to do. We love them. We recommend them. You should totally get one. It's free. So.
It's free. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just like that nice little one line response of like, oh, great. Like, here, check this out. Because then if they're asking you one question, there's probably more where that came from. So just like give them that piece of information. You can move on. It saves you a lot of headaches. And yeah, it's just really pretty piece of information. Although I recently also been seeing like a lot of my friends from like high school, college will post this is so creepy, guys. We'll post their like engagement or whatever, and then I'll like see if I can find their wedding website because like I want to find information. That's so creepy. I don't know if I'll include this in the episode, but you can also do that. You can creep on people. There's been times though I have sent like gifts where I'm like, I'm not invited to the wedding, but I just really am obsessed with this person. I love them and I'm gonna send them a gift. Does that
Hey,
make me a
that's a
stalker?
good point. If you have a wedding website, Caroline might find it and she might send you a gift. So
Guys, I
that's
love giving gifts.
that's
Love
reason
it.
enough to go ahead and make one.
Just send us your wedding website. We want to, one, check it out. Two, maybe we'll send you a gift.
For research purposes.
Yeah, for sure. So another part of this planning toolkit that we're giving you is something that you might also be like, Caroline, come on. I feel like I'm always doing the shameless plugs. We're going to talk about Here Comes the Guide. Obviously, we are biased and we love Here Comes the Guide. But like truly, the website is built around helping you to plan your wedding from the get-go. Like we really want to help you from the start, making sure that you feel well prepared. The second after you get engaged, if you want to start planning then, we are there to help you. So there are resources for things like, okay, I just got engaged. Now what do I do? Like, do I announce it? Like, what's my first steps need to be? We have some materials for you in that realm. And then once you kind of get past that, if you're looking for wedding venues, obviously we have tons of resources for that. You can search by style, area. We also have specialized editorial that pulls together different ideas of like, okay, I want to get married at a national park. Where are some places that I could get married nearby, or where like, okay, I want to get married at this place but I want everyone to be able to stay on site. Great, you can search by those features. So we have tons of things in line with like, okay, just after you get engaged, for your venue, and then also for other budgeting ideas, for checklists. We offer free printables. So if you do want to do some sort of binder alongside your organizational tools, or just a binder just by itself, we have lots of free things for you in that realm. And then also follow us on Instagram. Like we were also providing lots of those planning resources and resharing inspiration and I don't know, just hanging out there. So really like there are tons of things. So choosing that venue, how you like search for it. We've made lots of different search filters so that you can really narrow it down to that perfect fit. Those special editorial pieces. We also have real wedding inspiration. I love this. I'm such a visual person. I love being able to look at real wedding galleries, and I feel like I've picked up on so many little details through these real weddings that helped me plan my wedding, but also still to this day, I love looking through them. And I will also think to myself like, oh, I wish I could have done this. So definitely check those out. And also all of those other ideas, checklist, free printables, so many things there for you. So I know you're thinking you have to say that, but I don't know. We've always been so behind what Here Comes the Guide does. We do love our jobs and love what we do. And we do think that all of these resources are built with like you in mind. So we hope you get to check them out and use them.
Yeah, I mean, we really feel strongly about what we do. We believe in what we do, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So you should absolutely go to herecometheguide.com and check out all of that stuff. And then before we wrap up this episode, I also want to let you know that you should continue listening to our favorite wedding planning podcast, which is the Guy Gals podcast. It's the one that you're listening to right now.
Right now.
So yeah, we have, aside from our episodes, which if you go on our website, theguygalspodcast.com, you can search through our episode library, and we have a bunch of episodes. We have just about a year's worth of content for you on pretty much any subject that you could imagine when it comes to wedding planning. So, and then if you explore our website as well, we have a lot of free resources on there that pair really great with the Here Comes the Guide free resources. So, yeah, definitely check that stuff out if you are in the wedding planning trenches. But yeah, those are going to be our super basic breakdown of all of the, tools that we think are essential for your wedding planning journey.
Yes. Check out any and all of these. I'm sure there are also things that we missed, like make sure that you are following certain wedding profiles on social media or I don't know, even check out different people's wedding websites. Like go creep on your friends, see what they did, and then use that for yourself. Like there are things that we probably could have gotten the weeds with. So if you have any specific questions about this episode, obviously reach out to us. We'd love to talk about it. Or if there are any tools that you think we missed that we should be shouting out, let us know. And of course, we'll share those on Instagram and TikTok and all the different places that we show up. We want to make sure that, again, we are providing things to you. So if you're listening and you're like, this is saving my wedding planning process, let us know. We'll tell everybody else. We'll make this whole wedding planning process a group effort so that it's easy peasy for everybody.
Yes, let us know if there's anything that we've missed that you have relied on heavily or just like really love. But that is all that we have for you today. So thanks for hanging out with us. If, like Caroline said, if you have any questions or have anything to share, please reach out to us. You can find us on our website through our contact page. That's theguidegalspodcast.com. And like I just said, there's tons of free resources on there and a huge episode library at this point with lots of episodes you can listen to about all kinds of subjects. We are also on Instagram at the Guide Gals Podcast, and we're on TikTok at the Guide Gals Pod. And you can find the video version of all of our podcast episodes on the Here Comes the Guide YouTube channel. So yes, that is all from us today.
Yes.
But until next time.
Until next time, cheers.